You can't change what you don't measure. That's why real transformation begins with clarity. And in case of metabolic health, it means knowing your numbers. Most people think your blood tests are boring and it's something your doctor takes off just once a year. But the truth is, your blood work is your body's report card. It tells you whether your current habits are keeping you in health or quietly pushing you towards type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, or heart disease. But the tragedy is, millions are told their blood tests are normal while their metabolic health is collapsing underneath. Today, we will look at the numbers that actually matter, what they reveal, and how you can use them as a roadmap for next 90 days to transform your metabolic health. In my clinic, no one starts the reversal journey blind. We don't guess, we measure. Because transformation is not about vibes, it's about evidence. And evidence is provided by the numbers. Not all numbers are created equal. The standard blood test panel most people get is outdated because it misses the early warning signs. Today, I'll walk you through some of the key numbers that define the metabolic health and the risks, what they reveal, and how my patients use them as a benchmark to define their goals that helps them to transform their metabolic health in just 90 days. Here are some key numbers that decides your health span. Number 1 in the list is glycosylated hemoglobin. Normally you see on the report as HbA1c. It is, in simple language, your average 3-monthly blood sugar levels. Anything over 6.5%, doctors call it diabetes. Anything over 5.4%, I call it a red flag. Any decimal points above 5.4% means accelerated aging, damaged blood vessels, and high risk of dementia. Next in the list is fasting insulin. Most doctors in United Kingdoms never check fasting insulin levels. Fasting insulin levels can predict a diagnosis of insulin resistance 10 to 15 years before you're diagnosed with prediabetes or diabetes, giving you the window to act and improve your metabolic health. You can have a normal HbA1c with a fasting insulin levels of 12 or 15. That means your body, your pancreas is working hard in producing excess insulin to keep your blood sugars down. Optimal levels between 2 and 6. I think anyone and everyone should have fasting insulin levels if you are over 30. Earlier, if you have risk factors. Seen a patient only in last month with the fasting insulin levels 5 times the normal limits. He's only 21. He has normal HbA1c levels and his cholesterol is normal. Anybody could see and ignore that he is normal, but he could easily be diagnosed diabetic if we don't take an action. Good news is we had a long chat and now he is on his way to transform his metabolic health. This is what I want to share with you, that please, if you have risk factors, if you are even under 30, if you have skin pigmentation, dark patches around your neck, or you have a strong family history, or you have a higher BMI, and if you think you have visceral fat, please go for the fasting insulin test. It will predict insulin resistance and it can help you transform your metabolic health much earlier than your doctor will tell you and give you a diagnosis of diabetes, prediabetes, or fatty liver. Next test is a ratio, triglycerides to HDL ratio. If you have high triglycerides, low HDL levels, that means insulin resistance, high risk of fatty liver disease, and heart disease risks. Keep your triglycerides under 100 and HDL high and ratio under 2 for lower heart disease risk. Next is liver function tests. High liver function tests like ALT, AST, gamma GT, fatty alarm risk. These tests can be normal and your liver can be still choking on fat. Yes, you can be diagnosed with fatty liver with normal liver function tests. If your liver function tests are abnormal, that means your liver is crying out for help. Just want to tell you a story. I've just diagnosed a 10-year-old with a fatty liver because of high BMI. Good news, we are taking action. Next test is simple but very powerful test, waist to height ratio. If your waist is more than half your height, your visceral fat is running the show. And as you know from our videos before, visceral fat is an active organ releasing hormones and inflammatory cytokines, causing damage to your blood vessels, increasing the risk of heart disease and dementia. If you want to have complete metabolic health panel, in my opinion, you should also go for EPO panels, especially knowing EPO-B levels, which is directly linked to your heart disease, and also high sensitivity CRP levels that is linked to inflammation. Now, if you have done all these blood tests, you know your numbers. If you know your numbers, now we're going to look at what are the numbers you should aim for over the next 90 days that can transform your metabolic health. So here is the painful truth. Most doctors rely on outdated cutoffs. They will wait for you to be sick and start the medication. But there is a golden opportunity, as I mentioned in the video before, that you can take an action 10 to 15 years before you develop metabolic health disease, especially type 2 diabetes. And the first number comes to my mind is fasting insulin test. If your fasting insulin levels are high, that means you're already primed to develop a metabolic health disease. That means you have accumulated visceral fat. It's time to take an action now. Additionally, the numbers that surprises me, many doctors wait for your HbA1c to be over 6.4% and tell you that you have diabetes, you need to start the medication. Again, there's a window of opportunity. Anybody having HbA1c of over 5.4% should take an action now. You should not wait for you to be diagnosed diabetic. Then high triglyceride levels early on also reflect that you have developed insulin resistance. This is the time to take an action, and the action means lifestyle changes. We'll talk about a real life patient next week and how he made some substantial changes in his life and reduced his numbers substantially. I'll reveal it next week, what steps he took, and the similar steps can help you to transform your metabolic health. I would strongly recommend working on the visceral fat. As I mentioned, if your waist is more than half of your height, you need to take an action now. I have kept my waist size to 30 inches for the last 16 years. And it's because I do not want to develop visceral fat and destroy my metabolic health. So do not wait for these numbers to become abnormal. You can take action when they are deteriorating, like fasting insulin levels, triglyceride levels, HbA1c levels, and if you see any abnormality of your liver function test as well. Don't wait for your doctor to tell you that you have got a disease. Take proactive action so you don't develop a disease. If you know your numbers, you can act straight away. You don't have to wait for 90 days to transform your metabolic health. Especially, I would be worried if your HbA1c is over 5.4% or your triglyceride to HDL ratio is over 2. That means your body is already in a damage mode. Make sure that you cut down your processed carbs right down. No bagels, those cakes, the pastries, biscuits, they're not good for you. Additionally, make sure you're also cutting down carbs, bread, rice, pasta, sugar. In my clinic, I seriously advise my patients to cut them right down. Make sure you prioritize protein at each meal, especially your breakfast is protein and healthy fats. If you are having any carbs, make sure you're having 15 to 20 minutes walk after each meal to prevent the sugar spike. If you can, add some strength training. Strength training is also good for anyone who has fasting insulin levels that are high with normal HbA1c or their waist to height ratio is high. Same applies to people with fatty liver. Cutting down carbs, prioritizing protein, walk after meals, strength training. These are simple strategic ways you can act now to bring the sugar spikes down and flatline your insulin levels. I keep repeating flatline insulin levels. We have spoken about many times. This is the only thing I use with my patients, and that takes them into fat burning mode and reverses metabolic health diseases. Make sure you're also prioritizing hydration, stress management, and sleep. I strongly suggest prioritizing sleep for 7 to 9 hours every night. Don't miss on that. That is your metabolic reset button. Now you know which numbers are important. Go and get these blood tests done. It will help you to understand your metabolic health. If you are at risk, if you have any questions, put it in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer. Once you know your numbers, it acts as a benchmark. It will help you to decide the goal where you would like to be in next 90 days. Because these 90 days can be a game changer. It not only can transform your well-being, but it can act as an inspiration for your parents, for your family to transform their well-being. Most people think it's in their genes. I think it's what's in your lifestyle, on your plate, on your movement, what habits you undertake in order to improve your life. I have a family full of diabetics. I changed my well-being. I knew I would be at risk of developing diabetes, high cholesterol, and heart diseases. My grandmother had a heart problem at 52 years of age. So I took that information on board and made sure that I take steps so that I can cut down my risk. Next week, as I said, I will show you how a man in his 30s took steps and brought his HbA1c from 74 to 43 and has cut down his medication. He is on his way to transform his life. If he can do, you can do it. I'll see you next week.